I love watching T-ball, but not like the put it on the tee and everyone bats around T-ball. I'm talking about the first year of coach pitch, like you get 5 strikes. Like, you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking that kind of T-ball. I love it because it's like no one takes it seriously except for that like one dad. Like everybody knows that one dad that takes it seriously, but like the kids aren't taking it seriously. Like it's such a joy to watch because I mean you got Blakely over here kicking rocks. You've got Emily over here trying to catch a butterfly, and then Cece is in the outfield picking grass and literally eating dirt, like literally picking dirt up off the ground and putting it in her mouth and eating it. It's incredible. It's an incredible experience. If you've never had it, I highly recommend. But if you ever watch one of these games, you'll notice something. When someone comes up to hit, a lot of the time their parent is yelling some critique on how to stand their stance or maybe to choke up on their bat, how they're holding their bat, or to watch the ball or something like that. One of their parents is yelling this, and then you'll hear the other parent start yelling some other critique about something else. Like the first parent's yelling about the stance, the other parent's yelling about how they're holding the bat, and then the coach comes in and starts yelling about something else. Oh, remember to watch the ball. And then the grandparents are still even saying something else. So now you've got a kid who was just catching butterflies and literally eating dirt. She's got 5 different things going on in her head, trying to remember all these things. How am I supposed to do all these things? Just to get a hit. To do what she's been taught. And occasionally, she remembers 1 or 2 of the things, and she gets it right, and she makes contact with the ball, and it lands fair. And if by divine irony or just for my personal amusement, she runs to the wrong base. Now today, we're wrapping up our series called The Summer of the Other. Now throughout the summer, we've been learning how to prioritize others above ourselves. First, we learned how to better perceive others. Then we learned how to better include others. Then we learned how to better show compassion to others. And then we learned how to better look out for others. And then finally, we learned how to better use our words to build each other up. Now that we're at the end of the summer and we're going back to school, some of you have already gone back to school. Sucks to suck. It's like we're standing in that batter's box at that T-ball game, and all you hear is leaders shouting those 5 things at you through the fence, telling you to remember all these things. You got T-Money yelling at you, as he always does. Gavin, don't forget perception. Maggie, remember to include. Caleb, show compassion. Joanna, you got to look out for others. Logan, use your words. And we just pray that we can remember at least some of it and hit that ball into fair territory. And then when they hit the ball, we pray that we run to the right base. Now today we're going to ask one question. We're going to ask, how do we wrap this series up in a bow? How do we turn these 5 things that we've learned all summer into one simple thing that we can remember when we're standing at the plate? And to do that today, we're going to use one singular verse found in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. This verse comes from Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and in the prophets. Now, most people know this verse as the golden rule. Oftentimes, this teaching can come from religious and not religious sources. Whether someone is religious or not, or whether someone is Christian or not, most people come to the consensus that this is a good and sound teaching on how to live your life. But I really want to hone in on the importance of what Jesus is saying here and what it means as we try to bring our Summer of the Other to this new school year. Now, first let's talk about what this verse is not saying. Now, Christianity is unique because we have the golden rule. A lot of other religions and teachings have what's called the silver rule. And this is simply, don't do to others what you wouldn't do to yourself. Instead of the positive do and would, it's instead the negatives don't and wouldn't. Now, the problem with this phrase is it doesn't require you to act. All it requires is for you to avoid acting in a bad way. What Jesus is saying is the opposite. Don't avoid doing bad things. Well, don't avoid doing bad things, but that's not the purpose of what he's saying. That's not the focus. Instead, do seek out and actively attempt good things. Don't avoid, act. Now let's talk about what this verse is saying. Do to others what you would like them to do to you. It is an act of doing. When we think of others and when we interact with others, we need to make an active attempt to treat them the way we would like to be treated. Have lunch with that person sitting by themselves. Hold the door open for the older person at the Speedway gas station. Or be patient with Megan at Chicago's Pizza whenever you're there ordering. Simple stuff, right? But we also need to go past that. Now, when Paul is writing to the Philippians in chapter 2, verses 3 through 4, he says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others." Don't just do the bare minimum or be kind to others when it's convenient. Put the concerns and the interests of others above your own. Make it a priority to make other people your priority. And finally, let's talk about the importance that Jesus puts upon this verse. Now, in the last sentence, Jesus says, "This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and the prophets." This is the essence of all that is taught. When we read the Bible and when we feel it in our hands, when we flip its pages and read its words, its very essence is this: do to others what you would like them to do to you. Every law, every command, every sacrifice, every stipulation, every prophecy, this is the essence. Living for the other. At the beginning, we asked a question. When we're metaphorically up to bat, when we're out in the world, whether it be at school, in the store, at a restaurant, how do we turn those 5 things that we've learned all summer that we need to remember, how do we turn that into one thing? We remember the essence. We remember to treat others how we would like to be treated. We remember to make others a priority. Simply, we live for others. This is no longer the summer of the other. Summer's done. Stick a fork in it, especially for you that have already went back to school, literally over. Now comes the hard part. Now comes the life of the other. But how do we do that? We had some small little examples, but how do we actually do this in our lives? I want to stress that this is not throwing away the last 5 things we learned. This is simply the essence of it all. It's good to think of all 5 things. It's good to think of including others and watching our words, but when we do, we should remember it through the essence of this teaching. Treat others how you want to be treated. Just like in T-ball, eventually you'll have to remember all those things to be successful, but they become second nature under the overlying sequence of hitting the ball, the overlying essence. The same can be said for living for others. So let's go through each lesson that we've learned so far this summer and get some real applications for how we can play this out in our lives. So perception. We need to perceive others how we want to be perceived. Now this one is a little tricky for practical examples. To use a personal example, there's this girl I didn't really like in my college. That's to put it lightly. I did not like her one bit. I said that's in the past tense, though. I didn't like her. So it all comes down to this one time. I was talking to my friend. My friend was eating with this girl, and they're sitting down at the table, and I'm standing. I'm talking to him. She's over here. I'm talking to him, and unprovoked. I have never said a word to this girl in my life. I had a mustache at the time. She looks at me. This is exactly how she looked at me, exactly how she said it. Do you think that mustache looks good? I had never talked to this girl in my life. I had never even made eye contact with this girl in my life. And that was the first words that she said to me. So for the next year and a half, like you do, I made up my mind that I didn't like her, and I was never going to talk to her again if I could, like you do. And I was short with her anytime that I had to interact with her. I set my mind to perceiving her as a bad person. At that exact moment, I put her in a box. Then whenever I went to therapy and worked through some things with my therapist, I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. I knew she had some troubled history, so I made it my concern to perceive her as perhaps not the worst person at my college. But I had a class with her that semester after I had decided to give her the benefit of the doubt, to actively try and look at her as a good person. And I had a class with her. She sat right behind me, caddy corner, right there, next row behind me. And every day that we were both there, which was probably not very often, I skipped a lot of class. Every day we were both there, and she would see me, she'd say, "Good morning" to me. And I mean, I hadn't said anything to her. Nothing on my end had changed. She said good morning to me every single day, and had I not perceived her like I would have wanted to be perceived, maybe I wouldn't even have gave a good morning the time of day. She was nothing but nice. Maybe you've convinced yourself that one person is out to get you, or that one person is a hypocrite, or one person is rotten to the core. But would you want someone perceiving you that way? Treat others how you want to be treated. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Perceive others how you would like to be perceived. No one likes to be put in a box. Now, inclusion. Everyone likes to feel included. We need to make sure that we're including others just how we would want to be included. Not just our friends, but also those who might often be left out. When we're going to the football game on Friday night, we need to make sure we invite the whole friend group, not just the select friends that you pick and choose. I know you have the one friend group, and then you have the other friend group with just the one friend not in it, and then you invited that group to the football game. Well, they've got a group, and you're not in that group, so, I mean, everybody knows what's going on here. Just make sure we're including others. When we get to do something as a group, whether here at school or at home, we need to include others, especially those we aren't as familiar with, or someone who is a little bit different from us. When we're having our conversations in the lobby before church, and we see someone hanging by themselves, whether we know them well or not, we need to include them into our conversations, even just a simple hello, something to make someone feel welcome. It costs nothing to make someone feel welcome. If you do something that you would never want to feel left out of, you need to treat others how you'd want to be treated, and make including others as your priority. Now, compassion. Show compassion how you would want it to be shown to you, physically and emotionally. Now, when I was 10 years old, I played baseball. I was small, fast, and scared of the ball, so I got walked a lot. Well, I tried to get walked a lot so I could steal the bases. One day, my dad told me that if I didn't start hitting the ball, that he wasn't going to come to any more of my games. I was 10 years old, and he told me that straight to my face. I didn't care about hitting the ball. I really didn't care about stealing bases either. I wanted my dad to care and to be there. I just wanted compassion. So when your friend is blowing up your phone at midnight, and instead of being annoyed and shutting off your phone, show compassion how you'd want to be shown compassion. Talk with them about what they need to talk about. You never know what someone is going through. When the waiter or waitress is obviously struggling and in distress, show compassion how you would want to be shown compassion, and give them time and understanding. If you want to be shown compassion, then you should be giving compassion. Looking out. Look out for others how you would want to be looked after. When your friend is struggling emotionally, be someone that seeks them out, finds them where they are, and provides a safe space where they can feel cared for. When your sibling isn't feeling well, help them get what they need. No one can do it all on their own. We need to stop looking for the easy way out, and we need to genuinely go out and look after others. Your words. Talk to others how you'd want to be talked to. Build others up. When someone is in the middle of a bad time, send them an encouraging text. When your friend who runs track loses their race, encourage them to keep trying. When your parents are stressed from work, make sure to point out something you appreciate amongst it all. No one likes a put down, so let's make sure we're building each other up just how we'd want to be built up. Now, living like this extends far past these 5 things. These are just some easy things to remember and share. In all areas of life, we need to be treating others how we like to be treated. In all areas of life, we need to make others our priority. In all areas of life, we need to be living for the other. The best example of this is Jesus himself. Jesus is such a great and powerful leader because he not only gives good teaching, but he also leads by example. Jesus lived for the other. Going back to Philippians 2, we read verses 3 and 4, but if we continue on past verse 4, we read verses 5 through 8. It says, "In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross." Jesus never asked what the bare minimum was. Jesus never found anything too scary or too bold for him to do for others. Instead of all that, Jesus did all that he could. Jesus made it his priority to make every one of us his priority. Even going so far as to be being crucified for a crime he didn't commit to absolve us of our sins. Jesus didn't let social anxiety rule him. Jesus didn't let social pressures rule him. Jesus didn't let pain rule him. Jesus didn't let fear rule him. Jesus knew the pain and the suffering he would face. He came to us as a human, feeling all the same emotions and sensations that we do. And he suffered on that cross, shouting, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani." My God, why have you forsaken me?" Jesus lived, suffered, and died for you, for the other. Jesus lived for the other. The bottom line is this: the summer of the other is over. So now, let's follow Jesus' teaching, let's follow Jesus' example, and let's all begin the life of the other.